This is War Center.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into EHPN, and today we're back with our War Center segment. This episode will be a special top 10, displaying history's greatest military leaders. Today I'm here with history experts Adolfo Malvanen and KJ. And this is the 1932 to 1972 special, with impressive feats from leaders from World War II. With several leaders from various countries pitted against each other, we will analyze their war contributions and success rate to determine their rankings in history.
First list strong with number 10, we have General William Westmoreland. Westmoreland was a general who served in World War II and in the Korean War, but he's most well known for being the commander of joint operations in Vietnam. A very, very impressive feat. He's proven himself to be a competent general in conventional warfare, with him and his units in World War II holding their own against military powerhouses such as Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps. Even in Vietnam, forces under Westmoreland were able to win a multitude of battles, being able to fend off the sneaky Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces, and they were able to catch some major dubs. However, the efficiency of Westmoreland's strategy is definitely something that affects his ranking. Search and destroy warfare was extremely inefficient, with as many soldiers couldn't differentiate civilians and enemy forces, leading to civilian deaths, which gives his strategy a rating of 84. And Westmoreland's ideology of Vietnam being a war of attrition and basing victories based on body counts leads to a lot of unnecessary deaths and not that many progress being made, giving him our number 10 spot.
With an overall rating of 86, at number 9, we have Yamamoto Isoroku, a Japanese naval expert that uses superior talent to move up the ranks, all the way to Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet. He was responsible for the shift of the Japanese Navy from using battleships to more strategic aircraft carriers. His significant contributions to the Japanese Navy as both a commander and a strategist are more than enough to compensate for his lack of hair, thus giving him a tactics rating of 90. While he had a large presence in the battles of the Pacific Theater, he failed in many battles against U.S. generals, which is what lands him lower on this list. His plan to bomb Pearl Harbor was supposed to make sure the U.S. didn't enter the war, but instead it backfired and led to U.S. involvement that would eventually be his demise. He had a relatively low success rating at 80, but despite his losses, it is clear that the Japanese wouldn't have gotten nearly as far as they did without his expertise.
Definitely a good take. I definitely agree with everything that you just said, and I believe that the number 9 rating is a very good spot.
Pretty fair, honestly, yeah. Next on our list, we do have Omar Bradley. He was a key U.S. general who contributed greatly to the U.S. war effort.
Solid pick.
And his hard-working ethic, it dates back to his childhood, where he learned from his father sometimes, walking 8 to 10 miles just to teach and provide for his family. Overall, he ended up commanding 43 divisions and 1.3 million men in total throughout his life,
Big numbers.
participating in important matchups between the Allies and Axis powers. An example is Operation Torch. But definitely his most influential battle was the strategic bombing that he invented in his self-planned Operation Cobra. This successfully knocked down German communication systems in the Normandy beach battles, and this gave the Allies a massive edge. He wasn't as influential in other areas, though, being outshone by his commemorating and other commanding U.S. generals. He does have some decorated accolades and accomplishments, but he was overshadowed by other more influential figures, and that's why I think he should receive a solid 87 rating.
Really solid overall, really solid general, and just good pick overall. Yeah.
Coming in at number 7 with a rating of 88, we have Raymond Espruance, a war admiral with an extensive career in varying fields. He held intelligence, engineering, staff, and naval war college positions all before World War II.
That's a lot.
He commanded a total of 5 destroyers, as well as the battleship, the Mississippi. He commanded many ships in the Cruiser Division 5, whose success in Gilbert and Marshall Islands heavily boosted Navy morale, thus giving him a popularity rating of 87.
Don't really see that often.
Spruance became Chief of Staff to Admiral Nimitz shortly after the Midway Battle, and eventually got placed in command of the Pacific Fleet. In August of 1943, he also got put in command of the Central Pacific Force, widely known as the Fifth Fleet. Their companionship and partnership got Spruance the nickname of an Admiral's Admiral. He was then president of the Naval War College until his official retirement from the Navy in 1948. Truman appointed him as the ambassador of the Philippines from 1952 to 1955. And this is why we think he's a solid pick for number 7 on our list.
He's got a lot of accolades.
Very, very solid pick. I agree. All these picks have been really good so far. On our next spot, for one of the most potentially stylish and most decorated generals on this list, we have Georgy Zhukov. Growing up in a poor village in Russia, Georgy Zhukov would eventually become one of the nation's most prolific military generals. Zhukov is most infamous for his use of mechanical warfare, using artillery and mechanized vehicles in tandem to pull off very decisive wins. Zhukov played a very instrumental part in the Eastern Front, skillfully outmaneuvering and surrounding the German army in Stalingrad, a major turning point battle. From there, Zhukov would rack up wins in the Battle of Kursk, in the counteroffensive in Belorussia, and even personally planning the final assault on Berlin, sealing the coffin for the Axis powers. Zhukov would gain immense popularity and influence from his military powers, becoming close to Stalin and even being seen as a potential threat to him. Zhukov would then get relegated to more minor roles after the war, before being dismissed from his position as Minister of Defense by Khrushchev. Due to Zhukov's overall just stunning military brilliance, it definitely cements him as one of the greatest military minds at the time. However, the Russian strategy of seemingly just throwing soldiers' lives at the enemy, which is Zhukov did lead to a lot of lives being lost, which is why we gave Zhukov the number 6 spot. However, we do consider Zhukov to be the GOAT of Russian leaders, a title not easily obtained considering the nation's rich history.
That's a pretty fair pick. Honestly, it was a shocker when you said his name, but after you explained all that, I do agree with the number 6 spot.
Yeah, for real.
Next up, we have number 5, Bernard Law Montgomery. Bernard Law Montgomery, he was the best British general in World War II.
Best?
Probably the best in his entire history.
Wow.
He commanded the 21st Army Group in the Second Battle of El Alamein, which was a crucial turning point in the war in North Africa. And in this battle, he commanded the British 8th. And he also played a significant role in liberating North Africa from the Axis army of Italy and Germany.
God damn.
Wow, we don't hear much about the North African front.
Yeah. He also led the 8th Army in the invasion of Sicily, also known as the Operation Husky. He successfully led the liberation of the island. He's also known for his D-Day operation, which successfully led the invasion of Normandy, France, which consisted of the British Second Army and the 1st Canadian Army.
That's crazy.
Overall, his impact in the war was pretty significant. He was also awarded with numerous honors for his bravery, such as the Order of Bath and the Knight Grand Cross of the Order of British Army. This is why I say we give him the rating of 90, and in his rating, his tactics rating should be a high 94 because of his brilliant tactics used during the war.
Those accolades are really, really impressive for a British general. That's crazy.
Hot! With a rating of 91, Chester Nimitz was the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet. Under his direction, the Americans won many Japanese strongholds in the Pacific. He was significant in the battles of Solomon Islands, Gilbert Islands, Marianas, Philippines, and Marshalls, as well as the 2 key battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa in 1945.
Wow.
Thus giving him a success rating of 94.
That's impressive.
His capture of the Marianas allowed the US B-29 bombers to carry bombs to the Japanese mainland. The Battle of the Philippine Sea led to the sinking of vital Japanese carriers, from which the Navy never recovered due to the loss of planes and ships. After the war, he was the Chief of Naval Operations. He led a majority of the battles in the Pacific Theater, along with another person on our list, Douglas MacArthur. His military expertise is enough to make him a solid pick, but there are quite a few generals who might have had more influence in the war. That's giving him a solid spot at number 4.
Yeah, that's pretty high. I agree with that.
The Pacific Theater was the main part of the war.
Cracking into our top 3, we have Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur was trained to become a general ever since he was a child, explaining his high rating of 92. He spent a majority of his career as a top-rank official in the U.S. Army. He received a Congressional Medal of Honor for his contributions to the Army. And he also served as an aide in the White House during TR's presidency. He had a very high popularity rating of 91. At the point, he was the U.S. Army's foremost public relations officer. During the war, he won several battles as a general, including the Battle of Lake Gulf.
That was an important one.
He was later put in the charge of the Japanese reconstruction due to his success in World War II.
Yeah, that one went really well, actually.
Yeah. During the Cold War, he was fired by Truman because he spoke out against him. Nevertheless, he's a very great general in our history.
Yeah, MacArthur's probably one of the best U.S. generals who have ever existed, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a W. And coming in for our runner-up pick, we have Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower was an extremely talented general and impactful president. Today we're focusing on his military achievements. Graduating from West Point, Eisenhower would go on to serve in World War I, but he's most well known for his role as Supreme Commander of the U.S. forces in World War II. Eisenhower was a very charismatic and well-liked general, very skilled at negotiation, and this gave him lots of influence politically and militarily. He led major offensives in North Africa with Operation Torch, Italy, and even commanding U.S. troops during the invasion of Normandy on D-Day. After the war, Eisenhower would be appointed to a 5-star general. Due to Eisenhower's overall military accomplishments, charisma, and attitude to adversary, there's a reason why he's ranked number 2, with a 94 overall rating a true shining beacon for all aspiring U.S. generals.
Yeah, I mean, he's honestly like the Cristiano Ronaldo of this war stuff, bro. His charisma, his hardworking attitude, his leadership, everything.
I completely agree. Such a good general in our history and future president. I know if we're gonna have another one of him.
Boys, we've discussed a lot of good generals today.
We have
But finally, for the War Center top 10 pick, we have General George Blood and Guts Patton. He was possibly one of the fiercest, most aggressive leaders to have existed on the face of the earth.
I'm already scared with that nickname.
Yeah. Since childhood, he's always inclined to be the best military general anyone has ever seen. And he attended one of the most prestigious academies that we all know of, West Point.
Wish I would have attended that.
not as good as Rutgers, though.
Yeah, you're right. Anyways, I've seen no one like him. He brings that aggressive and mental personality like no one else on the field. He's honestly the GOAT in my opinion, kind of like the Messi of the military.
Sounds like the LeBron of military.
Sounds like Tiger Woods of the military.
Sounds like Serena Williams.
Sounds like Roger Federer of the military.
Sounds like Michael Phelps.
I love Patton, man. He was quite literally a technology master, utilizing the new technology developed around the time period, coupled with his skillful tactics and belligerent mindset, to completely crush his opponents and strike fear in everyone's eyes. Especially the Germans were afraid of this lion. He was like no one else.
The only one they were afraid of.
Exactly. Definitely Patton's most incredible feat involved the complete turnaround he pulled off back in 1942. Eisenhower was struggling in North Africa with the various battles, but the king himself, he took the reins of the soldiers, and his brute mentality completely turned around the soldiers' morale, and like a true captain, he resurrected our struggles out from the ground and rose us back to stability and victory. There was honestly no one else like him. Patton struck an undesired fear into his enemies, much more than any other general during this time period. There's so many reasons that he definitely deserves at least a 95 overall. A true king graced the Allies when most needed, and he was arguably a main contributor to the turning point in World War II and a win for the Allies.
I can completely understand the 95 rating and why he's ranked above Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Major W. And there we have it, folks. This is War Center's top 10 military personnel list of 1932 to 1973 period. Honestly, all of these candidates have achieved something unfathomable in their own way, and we definitely discussed some major GOATs. We hope to catch you again next time on War Center. Peace out.
Peace out.
What's up?